Whoosh. Hello and welcome to Kettering Builds. We're back with another episode of Satisfactory, and last time we left off and I was clearing all of the stuff that we had built here in the middle of this section out, and I did a little bit of work off camera here to add in all of the smelters necessary for processing iron ingots. And I've kind of played around with a few different designs for this and came to the conclusion that it was probably best to double stack these. And so what we've done is set up a total of 8 smelters on each side, and a smelter is going to take 30 iron ore in per minute and output 30 iron ingots. So that leaves us with 240 on each side with 8 smelters, and that's exactly what a Mark II miner is outputting at the moment. And so that gives us the capability of handling 2 of our Mark II miners on each floor of this facility. So I've got this floor and then another floor up above. That's going to output 2 belts out the back wall here. These belts hold a little bit more than 240. I believe a Mark III belt holds 270, but that's okay because all we're doing is piping that back here into these industrial storage containers here. And I've got a small one in the middle here just to appropriately space out. So you can see here, I've got the 2 belts coming out of the ground floor and then the 2 belts coming out of the second floor into these 2 separate industrial storage bins. And right now I've only got the bottom of these bins hooked up to a truck station that I've placed. And you can see I've set up a hyper tube. So this is our first hyper tube. If we walk over here, it's going to jet us right up here to the top level of our little factory here. If we just drop through the floor here into the factory, we can see that the second floor is set up exactly like the first floor. I like to run these very similar just to make my life easy. We've already got iron ore piped into everything, so the second floor we're bringing in iron ore from these 2 miners right here. And then for the far side, we've got this one in the corner, as well as our 4th miner right over here, which is going to be a total of 960 iron ore per minute getting processed by this factory, which should keep us going for a while. But in order to finish piping all this in, we're going to have to dismantle the hub. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, which is going to place the hub parts back into my inventory. And we're going to just hook this whole factory up here live on camera. I didn't want to do it off camera. I like to do some of the fun activities here on camera. And so we're going to just bring down a conveyor belt here and put that right there. And what I would like to do is pipe this particular conveyor along the wall here into this conveyor lift. But in order to do that, we need to unlock some parts. And I also like to unlock all of my parts on camera as well. So from running the Awesome Sync for all that time, we have a total of 20 coupons available to us. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those and bring them into my inventory. And we're going to come over here to the Awesome Shop and do a little bit of shopping. So first off, I know I'm going to want these conveyor wall mounts. So I'm going to put those in my shopping cart. I also want the wall-mounted power outlets here, and so that's going to be a total of 9, 11. You know what? We're probably going to want these at some point too, so I'm going to go ahead and just grab them as long as I'm here. That's going to be all of the attachment items. If I look at the wall items, I know I definitely want these door walls. We've been wanting to put doors in for a little while, so I'm going to go ahead and grab those right now as well. And lastly, and maybe a little bit silly, but I'm tired of having my tools up in my screen when I'm trying to take screenshots or walk around, so we're going to get the coffee cup here as well. I think I added the coffee cup more than once, so we're going to take that back. I don't know why you would want more than one, but there you go. So we're going to buy all of these, it looks like, for a total of 20 tickets, which is the perfect amount. Oh, we've still got 1 ticket left. I must have miscounted. So let me go ahead and put this coffee cup here in my inventory. And there we go. So much better. I'm going to be able to walk around and talk about things with, I guess, just a little bit of steam coming up in front of me. That's okay. So with that, let's go ahead and tear these back down just to get them out of the way. And let's head on back over here and get the iron ore running into our facility here. So I'm going to just put a conveyor wall mount right up here. And we're going to bring a Mark III belt right on up to it. Something like that. And boom. Just like that. We're bringing iron ore up into our factory. And then for this belt, we're going to do... What we're going to do is run this right down the middle here. And then bring it right into the factory here, just like that. But we are going to want to make those Mark III belts to make sure that we're bringing our material into the base as fast as possible. And then finally, we're going to be able to bring power into our base without having to run wires through the walls. I've been looking forward to this upgrade for a little while now. So we're going to use this double wall Mark I outlet and put that somewhere on the wall here for our second floor. I think we're going to do that right up here. And then similarly for our first floor, we're going to put that in the same spot. And I can run this all the way over onto this other wall here to provide me with the capability of doing the exact same thing. Like so. And now I've got both sides cranking out iron ingots here, which is awesome. And now all I gotta do is go up to the second floor and do the same thing real quick. So that's gonna be power on both floors of our facility now, and all 4 miners are operating at optimal efficiency. So we should be stacking up the iron ingots here in these storage containers. If we look here, we've already got stacks of iron ingots, which is exactly where we were hoping to be. So what we're gonna do is install a merger here now so that we can merge the materials coming into the top container with the materials coming into the bottom container and pull equally from these into the truck stop here. And in order to do that, because we're kind of a little tight on space right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually use this smaller container that I use just to space things out so that we were on the appropriate floors, and I'm gonna feed those iron ingots into it so that I can then bring them out the back here and down into this merger. We're gonna use a combination of the stackable conveyor pole here and the conveyor lift just to get this dropped down here, and we'll bring this right into this merger here. And this way we're pulling equally from the top and the bottom. It looks like our factory is getting filled up here pretty quick. We did cut off the power temporarily here as I moved everything around, so we'll probably need to re-establish that real quick as well. And just like that, we're pulling equally here from the top and bottom. As we get more advanced belts set up, we'll be able to continue to expand this design. We have enough room on the back side of this factory to actually expand it again and double this entire production up that we've built here, which is good because once we get to Mark III miners at the end of the tech stack, we'll be able to produce twice as much ore as we are now, I believe. So with all of that moving, we need to slap down an equipment workshop again. We need to make some beacons here in order to build a truck. I believe we need 5. And so with materials in hand, let's go ahead and slap down this tractor here And the goal being is we need to set up a path to start bringing the iron over to the main factory now. So I'm gonna put a little bit of fuel in here, and then we're gonna jump over here and make sure that we're loading the truck. We've got lots of iron ingots going into the truck station here, so we're gonna just pull on up here and let this load up and go test out that our other factory is indeed working. So we should be full now, and before we record a course, I'm just gonna manually drive over there because there's a lot of rocks and stuff in the way here. We're gonna have to think about the best way to get into here. In fact, I think we might come out this other entrance and go into the one that we just came out, just to make our lives a little bit easier. Go uphill while we're empty, so to speak. And this will be the first time I think I've taken a truck up this ramp, so we'll see how well this is going to work out for us. It looks like it's going to work out. So we're unloading our iron into the factory here, so let's go ahead and take a quick look and see that everything seems to be moving. And we're gonna come all the way down here. I already see the iron ingots starting to flow in. We've got nothing in storage yet because we do need quite a few to come through here. So we're bringing them in on a full Mark II belt here, 270 iron ingots a minute, and then we're splitting them out. So we should start production here in the beginning and get full and start to slowly fill out as we get down to the end of the factory. And then all of these iron rods should start coming off of the line here and feeding down to the end here into this storage unit. And because we've got so many different things that we're going to be using iron rods for, I don't expect that storage unit to start filling for a while. The bottom is going to fill down and start feeding our rotors, and the top here is going to come in and feed these two new assemblers that we brought up here that are going to be creating modular frames. Modular frames being the second part that we need to create our versatile framework. We've already got the steel beams here that we have set up on the bottom floor, and so this is going to allow us to get our second space elevator part automated here. And so now that we've got iron being brought into the factory here, creating all of our iron rods, we've got more than enough materials and automation to cover our second space elevator part. And so those are going to fill up here. In fact, we're going to grab the ones that we've already created. We've been dumping materials into this by hand while we've been running back and forth. And here we're bringing up from down below where we're producing the reinforced iron plates. We've been bringing those up into this factory as well, since we don't have a huge need for them down below. So with our second spaceship part now mostly automated, the last thing that we have to do with the iron is to set up that truck course to be automated. And then I think the next thing we need to worry about is getting copper brought over to the factory, because the recipe that we're using for the reinforced iron plates is actually this alternate stitched iron plate recipe, which requires a little bit of wire to come in here. And this is because I just despise working with screws when I can avoid it. It's very inefficient to have to create screws, and so a little bit of copper is going to go a long way to having this factory run better. And it looks like all of our steel production has capped out on these smaller containers, which is okay for the time being. We don't have a lot of need for steel just yet. We're going to be using a lot of that in a few minutes here, though, as we get our last spaceship component all automated. But before we do that, let's go ahead and set up this truck course. So, like before, we're going to hit start recording and drive on out here down our ramp and head on back over to the main base. Now, ideally, as long as I stay generally in the same direction on the same path, I don't think these trucks are going to have too much trouble running into each other, because they should be going approximately the same speeds in the same directions. And we're gonna try and navigate back up to the base, missing most of these rocks that we happened to see on the way down here the first time. And bring this guy right on into the truck station here. We're gonna pause here for a moment to load up. No sense in not bringing back a bunch of materials as long as we're making the trek. And we'll head back out this little bit easier to navigate exit while the truck is actually full. And we'll jump back across the path here and do the same thing where we follow generally in the same direction here. But this time we're going to go to our second ramp and hopefully be able to navigate up here to our truck station. Finish recording. So just like that, we should be good to go. He should get fuel here while he's unloading and then head on back and get some more iron ingots. Let's jump up here and drop these modular frames off in the appropriate assembler and take a look at where we're at from a production perspective. For every one modular frame we put in, we're going to get 2 versatile frameworks. So this is approximately 90 versatile frameworks in production right now. We've probably got a couple on the belts here. So we're probably 150 in total out of the 500 that we need. And so I'm no longer really that concerned about that part of the production. I think we've already got enough materials pushed into the base to make that many modular frames to get us to the versatile frameworks. So the next focus point has to be this automated wiring, which really just requires us to put together these stators. And so let's head on back to the factory and figure out what we're going to need for that. And because we haven't set up copper automation, we're going to take as much of this copper wire along with us as we can hold, just to drop that into the box for continuing to create our reinforced iron plates. All right, so next up we need to build some of these stators. So I've set up 2 assemblers, just like we've done for some of our other production here, and we're going to need our steel pipes, which we've got plenty of, and more of this copper wire that we keep hauling back from the base. So we're really going to have to get some copper brought over here in an official capacity and start creating copper wire here at the main facility. But in the short term, what I've done is taken the single container that was stacked on top here, turn that into a double stack container here. We put all the wire we hauled back in, and we're just going to split it between our reinforced iron plates and these stators here. So we've got our patented 2 assembler design here that I like to use, and we're just going to bring these steel pipes right on over. I'm going to use a Mark III belt just because we have plenty of steel right now, and I don't want to monkey around with things. And so my plan is to be ultra inefficient and just bring this belt straight across the factory floor here. I'm not too worried about it right now. We'll find a more efficient design at some point. We're not really using this space for anything. So rather than trying to pipe something all over the place, this is just going to be the quick and dirty way to get us to the parts that we need to proceed to tier 5 and 6. So much like our other productions, I am going to put a storage container down right here with a couple of mergers coming out of our assemblers just to bring the materials right on over to where we need them. We are not going to have a lot of volume here coming out of these assemblers, so Mark 1 belts will suffice. Last but not least, we need some power here, so we're going to go ahead and get these things hooked up to a power pole and find somewhere to run this back to. Well, there we go. So both of these assemblers are now appropriately filling their materials here. We've got steel pipe and wire coming in. We're going to upgrade these components up to the Mark III just so we're not sitting around waiting for things to fill up as we restock our containers, since this is a suboptimal container-based approach to things right now. Making sure that we're being nice and speedy and getting these stacks into the assemblers is going to improve our efficiency at the moment. So at this point, the only things that we're not fully automating in this facility are the copper wire and, ironically, the iron plates over here. However, we've got quite a few iron plates in this storage bin, so we're not really hurting for that piece of automation just yet. So with stator production now fully underway and cranking these out fairly quickly, we're going to grab another handful of the reinforced iron plates and head back on over to our other facility here and see how we're doing. We are starting to buffer on the iron rods as well, so our factories aren't using the iron rods as fast as we're producing them, which is good. I'd love to see this big container get filled up so that as we have need for them in the future, we've got a little bit of buffer while we get things set up. Okay, so we're back up here and checking on our production. We're gonna drop a few more modular frames in here. So now I know we've got at least another 100 coming through, and I can actually put some of these in a storage bin now. And over here, similarly, we're going to start loading these stators in, and they should go right on into this particular piece of machinery. Now, these are going to be a 1-to-1, so we're going to have a little bit slower of a time here, but the good news is I think I only need 100 of those. So if we come back over here, yeah, we only need 100 to get started. We've already made 122 of the versatile frameworks. And so at this point, it's just a waiting game of getting these materials to move through the process and unlock the next stage of the space elevator. I think, honestly, we've got enough materials over in the other factory at this point that if I were to just walk away from the game, we'd probably get there in no time at all. However, the great thing about Satisfactory is there's always a number of other things to be done, and so we're going to be checking out our copper facility and options here. And so this thing is still very helpful because it's making lots of different kinds of copper materials that we need. However, we've got at least one copper node down here that's not being used, and so I want to head down here and check on the quality of this node. This is a pure copper node, and then if we head on up here, I'm curious to see what the other nodes are. We've got another node right here, which is also a pure copper node. And so similar to what we've done with our iron, I think the goal here is going to be to upgrade both of these miners to Mark IIs, just create the ingots here, and have all of the ingots shipped back over to our main factory. All right, so we've done a little bit of work off camera here and set up another one of these smelter arrays just like we did for the iron ingots, except here we're going to be processing copper ingots. We have this storage unit set up here to accept them and kind of provide a buffer And then if we just kind of run down the line here, you can see that so far we've only filled half of this. We don't have any copper coming into half of our array here, but we do have the unused copper mine that was down below here set up now to bring all of that copper right up into the back line of this facility. And so that's a full 240 copper per minute coming in. And then at some point we're going to tear down this copper factory that we have up here, but it's still creating a lot of useful components that we're using for different things. And so rather than tear that down, I like having the ability to have those on hand. And honestly, 240 copper ingots a minute is going to meet our needs for the time being. So we've got that all set up and going. Let's run over here and see the other little bits that I've done here, which is we've added a truck station down here at the bottom. And so let's get our handy zip line out here. And if we just hop down here, we've got this truck station now set up to bring copper ingots over. Now, the one thing we're going to have to do in order to use this, though, is re-record our iron ingot path because it clips through this tile right here. And if the truck enters this and isn't full, it's going to stop and try and pick up copper ingots. I really don't want to be bringing back multiple materials in the same inventory because that's just going to be a mess to sort out later. And so I've gone ahead and stopped this truck here, and we're going to hop into it and set up a different course. So if I get in, I can do clear path, and all of our recording is gone now. And we're going to go ahead and record a new path here. So we are now recording, and I'm just going to be careful to come over here and avoid that other truck station. And we're going to try and not get run over by the wildlife here on the map. Watching out for our other truck who's happily keeping our steel factory moving forward. We're going to just get this going again, and then we're going to have to build another truck stop for copper up at the main base here at some point. I haven't gotten around to that just yet because I've just been running some materials back and forth by hand as I've needed to. Off camera here, we had to pick up a little bit of stuff from the base at one point, so I brought a bunch of copper wire back for ourselves. And that allowed us to do what we needed to do to keep making the materials for our space elevator. So I'll be curious to check in on the space elevator here in a second and see how close we are to completing that at this point. I think we've got to be getting pretty close because I dropped off a significant amount of supplies here right before I started building the factory up by the copper. So as soon as we get this course recorded for the iron ingots again, we'll jump back up on top and check that. Ooh, that was close. We definitely don't want to be running into anything with the truck here. That would mean we'd probably have to re-record our course. Let's see if we can slowly navigate all these rocks and stuff. All of the hazards in the ground seem to pop up at the last possible moment here, so we've got to be a little bit careful with the truck. And just like that, we're going to finish recording. Now, because I did turn off autopilot, I'm going to re-enable autopilot so that when I jump out of the truck here, he should get ready to take off on his own and start delivering those iron ingots once again. So let's jump up on top of our factory here and check on our space elevator components. I can see already before we even click on it that we've got plenty of the first two because they're starting to stack up on the outside here. So we did hit all 100 of our automated wiring already, and we've got 500 of these smart platings, so we just need another 80 versatile frameworks. So let's go check and see what we're missing to get those versatile frameworks wrapped up here. I suspect we just need to go pick up a few modular frames. So I'll drop the two that I've got in my inventory here, and we'll go pick up another stack of those. I'm almost positive we're going to have plenty of those sitting back in the base at this point because we have completely automated that production queue. So looking here, we've got more than enough up here actually. We've got a couple hundred, almost 158 it looks like. So we're gonna just grab a stack and bring those back down here and toss them into our assembler and let the space elevator wrap up here. And there we go. We've dropped a stack in here. That's going to make another 100 of these versatile frameworks, which is going to be very good for us. At 5 per minute, we'll need about 40 minutes for that to complete. So while that wraps up, I'm going to head over to the main base and see if we can figure out where we're going to put a truck station for our copper ingots. All right, so I've decided to put the truck station right over here on the corner, kind of around the side of the corner here. That's going to allow me to hook into the fuel that I'm bringing down here for now as well. And so we've just piped the fuel in. And I'm not sure where I'm going to set up the copper production just yet. Probably up here on the second floor, just like I did for the iron ingot production, where we're turning those into the iron rods. We'll probably do something similar right up here for wire, since really that's the main thing that we need to automate here for making all of the components we're working on right now. But for the time being, I'm not going to worry about that too much. We're just going to set up a course to get it brought over here so we can start filling this up and have the copper on site as we need it. And then we'll worry about all of that automation as we figure out what the next big thing that we need to build is. So we're going to go ahead and drop this tractor here. It's going to automatically fill up with fuel for us. And just looking at how we're going to come into the truck station here, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have our course start somewhere like this. I don't want to go all the way around the trees and whatnot. So we're going to start right here. And I'm going to start recording, and we're going to see how easily I can navigate around some of these obstacles here. Again, this is a pretty short course for us, so I'm not too worried about how well it performs as long as we're not running into people and the truck and tractors aren't getting trapped here. We're going to be good to go. So I'm just going to continue to follow along here with what all the other courses are doing, with one small difference. Instead of going all the way around, I don't want to pick up any of the iron. We're going to have to actually come in this same entrance that the other tractor is coming out. And so hopefully this isn't a horrible idea and they're going to crash into each other. We'll find out. But I'm going to come right into the station here, get loaded up, and then we're gonna do a U-turn and head right back out. These trucks are fairly maneuverable, so this is a viable option for us. I'm just nervous that we're going to run into our iron truck at some point, but there's only so much we can do in this tight space. If this becomes a problem, we'll just have to come up with a better plan there. Honestly, our factory is so close to that resource point that we probably should just be belting these resources over to the factory. I wanted to do it this way though, just because it's a little bit more modular and disconnected, and leaves me open to future options where no matter where I'm bringing my resources in from, I'm going to be able to get them dropped off here. If I were to do some kind of a main bus and bring them in that way, we would not have nearly the options that we do now, or we'd be reworking things again once we came across additional resource points. And so I like this because it gives me the most flexibility as we continue to expand our factory. We're going to be able to bring resources in from different parts of the map. And honestly, we're probably going to end up building some more factories around different parts of the map. I'm not the biggest fan of having one single mega factory. I think we can build things in different areas and then bring them together near the space elevator. We may even have to move the space elevator at some point. I kind of like having it up there, so we'll see. However, with all that, let's run back over here and check on our space elevator. I think we've got to be getting pretty close to done here on putting all of the components necessary to unlock tier 5 and 6. Alright, we're back up here on by our space elevator, and you can see the automated wiring that we've created is starting to backlog here, and will likely be filling up this container before too long, which is good. This is a component we're going to need to combine to make a more advanced material a little bit later on. So let's see here. This is still going and not backed up, so we're not full yet. How many do we need? We need 6 more versatile frameworks, so that's going to take all of a minute here. We've got 2 coming. We've got another 4. And so this batch right up here that's going to be coming up this elevator right now, that's going to be our final 2 versatile frameworks. So let's hop on the belt here and ride this belt to victory and see what Tier 5 and 6 have for us. Now, in all honesty, this is about as far as I've made it in Satisfactory. I've gotten into Tiers 5 and 6 before Update 4, but I didn't get very far after that, and so I'm really excited with how well this playthrough is going. I'm having a lot of fun with the Let's Play, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the changes that have happened in the higher tiers of the game. There's a lot of cool stuff that's been added to the game, and we're going to be just now getting into that. And so I'm really happy that we've taken the time to automate everything that we've done so far, and we're going to be able to continue to develop from here. So let's get this capsule sealed and send it on its way up to space. We're going to get back here to the corner. One of my favorite parts of the game here is watching this thing launch up into space. Ooh. There she goes. Epic! So just like that, we're on to the next section. And wow, we're going to need a lot of these versatile frameworks this time around. 2,500. So we're going to have to move from our semi-automation into full automation here for the next tiers here. But we've got these modular engines and this adaptive control unit that we're going to have to make. And I think these are the items that are going to take some of these other components to ramp up into. So we'll see how that goes. However, in the meantime, well, this has been a very satisfactory episode for me. I'm excited to see that we've gotten to Tier 5 and 6 being unlocked. Next episode, we'll dive into what we need to get going to start unlocking the research in Tier 5. That's all for today. Keterk out.